Now I have sort of glanced at this subject here and there on my other videos, and there are ways of getting to the sound you want. As I said, you need to have a concept of what sound you want, and it's got to come from here and also come from the heart. Now, the challenge is, how do we achieve the sound we want? And it took me years and years and years, and the quest for a decent tone will always be ongoing. As you change as a person, your idea of what you want the clarinet to sound like changes. So the clarinet, it changes, and also your emotional state. I had a particularly disastrous love affair rejection, and suddenly my sound was like, whoa, where'd that come from? Although I was playing one of the Rega sonatas, and they kind of invite a darker sound. But before I get on to reeds and mouthpieces and stuff, there's so much you can do about your sound before you even put the clarinet in your mouth. Now, your teacher may have said, oh, open the back of your throat, raise the tonsils, that sort of thing. Yeah, that's great. And I totally agree with that. Also, sort of trying different embouchures and, experimenting with... Sorry, excuse my stupid dog. You must have heard him on the recording. He didn't get a walk today, so he's a little bit pissed off at me. Now, as I said, there's so much you can do about your sound even before you put your mouth on the mouthpiece. So experiment with, because it's this, the oral cavity doesn't sort of end behind your teeth. There's so much in your oral cavity that can be done to change the sound, and a lot of it has to do with the back of the throat, sort of raising the soft palate, that sort of thing. But let's look at how we can achieve the sound we want. Because technically, if your teacher plays your instrument, they're still going to, barring sort of soft reeds and that, they're going to get the sound they want, which doesn't sound like your sound, it sounds like their sound. That's because they've got the concept of what they want the clarinet to sound like. And they will sound like that on any clarinet. Thing is, the right reed, mouthpiece, ligature, bell, barrel, clarinet will help you achieve that and make it a lot easier. And you have to experiment. The first thing is reeds. For God's sake, throw out the Ricos. Oh, I've never had a lot of time for them. My personal reed of choice is the Van Doren V12 3.5, but the strength is completely up to you. There is the Van Doren V12, slightly cheaper. I know there's Reeds Australia reeds as well, but I've always found them a little bit too woody. So I go the Van Doren V12 because it gives me the sweetest sound, a lot of flexibility in there. And even if I got a reed that doesn't work so well out of the box, well, you've seen my 3-part video on how to get the most out of your reeds. So get yourself a decent reed, because a reed does make a lot of difference. If you see some of my videos, people have said, oh, you got a bad tone. Well, actually, I just had a bad reed that day, and if you were to look at any of my other 350 videos, there should be better sound. And of course, sound is also influenced by, the liveliness or deadness of the room in terms of acoustic. So, get yourself a decent reed. But the reed has to work in conjunction with the mouthpiece, because one reed may work on one mouthpiece and it won't work with another. And it's just trial and error. I've tested loads of mouthpieces and changed mouthpieces, and the kind of sound I generally like is the dark sort of German English sound, very intense, although light when you want it, and also being able to handle a really good forte. So for me, I've always gone towards the more open mouthpieces, and when I say more open mouthpiece, I mean that there's more the, the lays longer or whatever, but talk to the mouthpiece people. Now, what I would suggest is don't settle for the mouthpiece that came with the clarinet. I mean, that's okay for complete beginners, but if you're, looking to kick on into youth orchestras and stuff, you're gonna need to get a good mouthpiece. Personally, the mouthpieces I've loved the most are Mel Bay's mouthpieces and also Selma's. Because I do like an open mouthpiece that gives me the flexibility of a lighter sound if I do need it, but really that dark, intense sound. It almost feels like I open up another chamber with the mouthpiece. So my mouthpiece that I liked was a Charlie Bay MOL. It was beautiful. Really a lovely, lovely mouthpiece. Again, so much room inside it. You could really explore amazing fortes. I was on a Selma C85 120. Didn't like that as much as the Bay. And then when I had my clarinet stolen and had to completely replace everything, I had a Charlie Bay MOM, which unfortunately was a very closed mouthpiece. And I struggled with it and struggled with it and struggled with it. And I did so much work with my upper lip because I was looking to find that open chamber, and I was having to compensate with my upper lip. And in the end, I just blew my chops out and couldn't play for ages. So I did a, what you do is you go to the woodwind shop and hope, if they know you well, they'll let you take away half a dozen mouthpieces. Otherwise, which I had to do, I sort of blew a heap of mouthpieces in the shop and said, look, I can't choose between these two, so I bought both, tried them out for a few weeks, and then brought the one back that I didn't want, get a refund. So now I'm on a Selma C95 130. It's a more open mouthpiece than the C85 120 Selma, and I like it a lot. It gives me that really dark sound that I like. It gives you an absolutely beautiful lower register, and nice throat tones too, not too sharp. Yeah, so that's the mouthpiece I like. I did try the Van Doren ones. What are they called? C45s or something. Very sweet sound, but didn't have the didn't have the grunt I needed. So so get yourself a decent reed, get yourself a mouthpiece, and make sure that the reed and the mouthpiece work well together. And then you got to choose a ligature. Me personally, I've tried the BG sort of leather ligatures. Haven't been completely sold on them because they tend to fall apart fairly quickly. And I have used them extensively, and I keep having to buy them over and over again because, something falls off. I kid you. I hope they have rectified that. What I'm using now, and it's all well and good getting a ligature where you tie it up at the back. Go for it if that floats your boat. But personally, I use the Van Doren Optimum ligature. I just prefer it. I've used it, I've used it for a number of years now. I also use it on my sax as well. But that's purely my personal choice. As I said, the BG ones, if they work for you, well, you go for it.